Talofalava malolale bulava, how you doing? Kia orana, g'day mates, cheer the cousins and cheer the bros. Welcome back to episode number 4, where we come together and we share real stories of real people about struggles and victories in hopes it will inspire others. First and foremost, I just want to say thank you to our Lord God for giving us this opportunity, and also a massive shout out to all of our supporters showing so much love to the show. Now, today we have none other than the man himself, Paul. Paul, welcome to the show. First of all, I just want to say thank you so much for this opportunity. Thank you so much for giving us the space that we could be here and this beautiful background here. Welcome to the show, Paul.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for allowing us to share our story.
No worries. So, Paul, who are you? And what is your role here? I know that bed down is our main topic for today, but give us a little insight of who you are and about In Community.
Yeah, so I'm Paul. I'm the CEO of In Community, and Beddowns, one of our brands that sits under the In Community banner. I've been part of this organisation since 2002, and I've been leading it since 2004 as the CEO.
Awesome. So, tell us who is Bed Down, because I know that Bed Down runs is under the umbrella of In Community, but who is Bed Down, and what is Bed Down all about? So, take us through that.
Yeah, so Beddown was a brand that joined In Community about 2 years ago now.
Right.
Prior to that, Beddown was its own independent organisation established really to look at different ways of providing supports to people who are experiencing homelessness, particularly those who are rough sleeping. So you may be familiar with Beddown when I talk about blow-up mattresses in car parks. That's where it all started, in
Yes.
a couple of inner-city car park trials in Brisbane, where Norm, who was founder of Bed Down, brought to life an idea to transform underutilised spaces into sleep spaces at night time for people, and just happened to have the idea to do that in the context of a car park. Which wasn't used after hours, and those car parks in the city have some pretty good after-trip facilities in them. So they have showers, they have toilets, all that kind of
that's
stuff.
amazing.
So the idea was to really challenge the thoughts of how we could actually provide somewhere to sleep, somewhere safe to sleep for people. So it wasn't about accommodation, it was more about providing a health and wellbeing response to people who would otherwise be sleeping rough.
Yes.
Because we know that the key to being able to resolve a lot of the challenges that people were having who were experiencing homelessness was really about getting that good night's sleep.
Yes.
Without a good night's sleep, we don't function. If you've ever had a really bad night's sleep yourself, the next day is really hard to come back. So you imagine that night after night after night. So the idea to transform car parks was really just a starting point, but the idea, I think, that underpins that is that everyone deserves somewhere safe to sleep. And that's a fundamental need that every human has. And it really stems back to that health and well-being, because without somewhere safe to sleep, without a good night's sleep, everything else in our life becomes really difficult.
Yes, that's true. Because I see, because we just got back from Canberra from the weekend, and I've seen that there's quite a few homelessness people, and just trying to understand these guys, they're on concrete.
Yeah.
They're not like what we would go to, where we can go home and know that, look, man, we got a bed to go to, we got blankets to cover us, and we got pillows to put our head on. But these guys, they have absolutely close to nothing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And what you guys are doing, and what is Bed Down is doing, is giving them that sense of knowing, look, come to us and we can share what normal people have, which is
So what all of us all take for granted is that comfortable place to sleep.
Yes.
So In Community, which is a parent organisation, we were established in 1982 to provide responses at the time to young people experiencing homelessness. So homelessness isn't a new issue. It's something that our organisation's been dealing with for more than 40 years.
Wow.
And we weren't the first to start to respond to homelessness.
Right.
We're just one of the first in this region. So, what kind of has come out of that is that we've got a long history of providing supports to
Yes.
thousands and thousands of people, but since COVID, the situation's just got worse.
Yeah.
Housing stress is at an all-time high. The rental markets are really difficult to get into. So overall, you have a situation where the risk of someone sleeping rough is a lot higher than what it was now.
Very much, yes.
So we brought Beddown into our brands about 2 years ago, and the idea with that was we were starting to work with more people who were sleeping rough, and there was just a good alignment in that vision.
Definitely.
There. Yeah.
Definitely. So take us through the routine of what goes into setting up Beddowns for our guest.
Yeah. So look, there's a big change happening in the bed down space at the moment. So bed down was originally around taking unconventional spaces, so utilising car parks, for example, and repurposing those to sleep spaces of a night time. And what we know about that is, whilst it's a great idea and it got a lot of media attention.
Yes.
Long term, it's a really challenging space to be in because you're setting up every night, you're packing up. So it's like, it's set up and pack up every single day. So there's a lot on either end, and it takes a lot of volunteer effort to do that. So what we've turned our attentions to, we've been looking for the last couple of years at what's a more sustainable, permanent kind of structure, and we were looking at whether we could build our own venues and doing things like that, and we kept on hitting barriers, and then something came to me recently. So I travel a lot in my work, and I was in a hotel and I went out onto the balcony and I realised that in that hotel, majority of the rooms had no lights on. It was just on dusk. Things were starting. I had my lights on. There was probably about 20% of that hotel had lights on in the room. So we went back and we started to look deeper into those numbers to see, in Australia, how many hotel rooms are vacant every night? Because that's a ready-made solution that all we need to do is plug into it.
That's amazing.
And we've been working in one of our other programs where we're helping, it's a state government program, an immediate housing response for families who are experiencing homelessness, using motels as that temporary accommodation. And we've done quite a bit of that. And so put those two things together and we thought, well, how many of these rooms are actually vacant? And what we found is, on average, there's 30% of hotel rooms in Australia that sit vacant every single night. It's actually a little bit more. It's actually close to 32.
Wow.
So when you look at the amount of hotel rooms that are in Australia, and you have a look at 32% of that, we actually have a ready-made solution for the problem that we're trying to address. So this week we're launching the Good Night Initiative, which plays on an old program that Beddown ran in its car park trial. The Good Night Initiative initially was a turn-down service, where it was about putting just a really nice warm note on someone's pillow and chocolates for them, just to show them someone cared. And the idea with the Good Night Initiative 2.0 is that what we're doing is we're working with hotels. We're about to, this week, we're releasing the first 1,000 bed nights.
You're kidding. That's amazing, Paul.
That's 1,000 nights of accommodation, which will provide a safe place for people to sleep. So we're putting people into individuals. So this is really targeted at people who are on the streets as individuals, because individual adults are the hardest group currently to provide accommodation for, because there just aren't enough options for them. So what we're doing is we're bringing that forward. We're starting off with that 1,000 bed nights. So we think that'll go pretty quickly, because 1,000 bed nights, when you look at, that's not 1,000 people, it's 1,000 nights of accommodation. That'll go pretty quickly, and then we've got some plans to broaden that, and we hope to work with hotel chains to activate those spaces, and we hope that we can bring hotel chains on as partners in that, to be able to make that more cost effective.
That's amazing, Paul. And what you guys are doing is so good. 1,000 nights. I wish I could stay in a doesn't that?
Yeah, so then our second goal from that is phase 2 of this is we want to be targeting that 10 to 20,000 bed nights of
Wow.
accommodation. Which over a year, if you divide that by 365, it'll provide accommodation for quite a few
Quite
people.
a few people, yeah.
As a whole year experience,
Right.
somewhere that people can go, they can have not only a good night's sleep, but
Yeah.
hopefully they can do laundry.
Yes,
they
all the
can
above.
collect their thoughts.
Yeah.
Charge their all that kind of stuff. Charge their phones. Just have somewhere safe and relaxing, and actually feel welcome.
Well, and actually feel like they can actually call, like, even if it's one night, 2 nights, they can actually say, man, like, this is my home for this 2 nights.
Yeah.
Like, instead of like thinking, oh man, I have to go back on the street,
Yeah.
I have to go back to, being on the concrete again, like, but just letting them know that there is somewhere for you to come and just be loved and
Yeah.
welcomed. So
Yeah. And it's not a permanent solution,
Yes,
but
yes, but it is.
It is something in between, just
Yeah.
to keep people going until we can find those permanent solutions.
Awesome.
Because the idea with Bed Down has always been, and within community as a whole,
Right.
it's around wrapping supports around people, and like our why as an organisation is
Yeah.
to inspire people so they believe that they can. And it's
Wait. Before you go on,
Yeah.
sorry for interrupting, but can you say that what you just finished saying?
Yeah.
And just,
So it's to inspire people so that they believe that they can. Now, if you're sleeping rough, it's pretty hard to be inspired. So what we
Yeah,
want to do
true.
is we want to give people that sense of hope.
Right,
We want
right.
to connect them into services. We want to connect them into support, and we want to start to build the blocks and the foundations so
Okay.
that they can start to, experience a better life, have a good night's sleep.
Right.
And from that, we can then build into other things. We can build into longer term supports from there.
Paul, I just talking to you briefly, and we've only met today. Just listening to what you've been talking about. What gives Paul the motivation to do what you do? Obviously, to become the CEO of the company that you are today. But what gives you, not anyone
Yeah.
else, but what gives you, Paul, the motivation to do this for others and the people that need your help?
Yeah, so I guess take you back a bit in my life. When I was younger, I spent a bit of time probably on the wrong side of the tracks,
Right,
and
right.
I met a lot of people who were what would be considered to be the menace to society, or those people that were kind of on the outer, and a lot of those people were sleeping rough at the time,
Right.
or sleeping in improvised housing or squats, or 30 people kind of crashed in one person's house because they didn't actually have anywhere to go. But what I saw in those people that I met during that time was I saw a lot of people who were extremely good people, people with amazing amounts of talent,
Right.
but not inspired to do anything with that. And then one bad step leads to another, and you end up in a pretty big hole pretty quickly.
Yes.
And one of the things that no one ever was teaching these people to do is they were digging their hole with their shovel, but no one ever turned them how to use their shovel in a different way, so they could actually create some stairs with their shovel.
Wow!
And
Wait!
bring themselves
You need
up
to
out
say
of
that again for our viewers,
Yeah.
because these are gems that we need to understand, because we don't understand this.
Yeah.
Because we haven't been homeless, or like we haven't been like our guest.
Yeah.
So just say that one more time,
So-
please.
so
The
what-
shovel
Yeah, so-
mentality.
Yeah, so we use the analogy of a shovel. We dig our
Yeah.
holes, and what tends to happen is, we go, well, we didn't know when to stop using the shovel, so we could get out of that hole.
Right.
But with every shovel, there's actually a different way you can use it. You can use it, if you're in a hole, you can actually use it to dig yourself some stairs and to create stairs to get out of that hole, if someone comes along and mentors you and shows you that.
Yes.
So what I saw is, I saw a lot of people, and this comes back to this, we inspire people so that they believe that they can, because a lot of people, when they were in these situations, they weren't really, they couldn't find that inspiration in
Yes.
their life. They couldn't find that thing that gave them that purpose to actually do great things.
Right.
Because, so many of them had the capacity to do great things.
Yeah.
But one thing led to another, and the situations were as is. So, so this whole concept of inspiring people to believe that they can, if we can create a good night's sleep to someone and give someone a good night's sleep, that's the first step in really being able to inspire someone. Because if you don't wake up with a clear head in the morning, if you don't wake up well rested, it's pretty hard to be inspired.
It
It's
is.
pretty hard to actually want to do anything that day.
Yeah.
Or even if you want to really be able to execute that and do that well.
Man, that's amazing.
But look, I would say I've been in this space. I've been working in this industry for about 25 years now,
Right.
and I would say that the amount of people that I've met in this space who are amazing musicians, amazing artists, you know,
Wow.
storytellers, all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
People who've come out through that, through that experience of homelessness. The talent in that space is phenomenal, and
Wow.
we've got some other projects which we're doing. We've got a crisis shelter for young people,
Yeah.
and we're doing a project in there around art at the moment, around bringing that art to life.
Right.
Because when we've done stuff like that in the past, you know, the creativity is phenomenal in,
Right.
and you know, if we can engage people around what's good and what they can do really well, we get some great stuff happening.
That's amazing. Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Paul. You must have a lot of conversations with our guest. A lot, like you just finished talking on.
Yeah.
Take us through some of the conversations that you have encountered.
Yeah, so look, I guess as an organisation, we deal with a lot of people. So I think last year across our whole organisation, it was close to 7,000 people
Wow.
that we provided a service to. So obviously, in my role, I don't get to see all of those people.
Right.
But you know, I do remember, I guess. Back where I started, and that was starting in doing youth work back in the day.
Yeah,
and,
nice.
You know, I think the biggest thing that resonates for me is that oftentimes we don't see the outcome of our work straight away. You know, the outcome of our work can take some time before we actually see anything. But there was a young lady who we worked with. This is probably going back more than 15 years now.
Right.
And you know, she was, you know, having some difficult times. She was in our crisis accommodation. She had an amazing singing voice. So she actually, she sang at one of our AGMs. And,
Wow.
You know, then these people go off and they get into some sort of longer term accommodation or whatever. And oftentimes you don't hear from people for quite a few years.
Yes.
And there's quite a few years in between. And then probably about 7 or 8 years after, we get an email.
Wow.
And it was, hey, just letting you know how I'm going. This is the work I'm doing now, and here's my wedding photos. You know,
You're
I've just
kidding.
got married. This is this is my life now.
That's amazing.
It's really good. We've got a core team that's been with the organisation for a long time.
Yes.
And it's really good because the people that we've worked with often will cycle back at some point in time to talk to us about, you know, how life's going now.
How things are going now, yeah.
You know, and that gives us that sort of hope and inspiration, and then they become that inspiration.
Wow.
You know, that they can then inspire other people as well.
Of course.
Because, you know, there's so much, you know, in people's lives. Everyone has a past.
Yes.
You know, and how we're supported to overcome those things is then what leads us into that next part.
And and obviously when you got that email, like, you probably were proud of what she was doing now, because you played a big role in her.
Yeah, look, it's good for us. It's inspiring for us. Ultimately, though, we're excited that she's now proud of her life.
Yes.
And that for us, that's our position. Like, our position, it's not about what we can get out of it. It's about, you know, what the people that we're here to serve, the people that we're working with. You know, in 5 years' time, how do they look back and reflect on their life?
Yeah.
And what does that look like for them?
That's amazing. Thank you, Paul. Being the CEO for Beddowns, take us through the struggles and victories that you guys come across.
Yeah, so obviously there's probably the normal kind of ones, like I just spoke about with with some of the challenges people have, and then some of the victories. Probably some of our biggest challenges right now though in this space is demand on services.
Okay.
You know, we're talking an unmet demand of more than 15 people a day, or 15 families a day, who are trying to access our services. So and our services across the board are full. So you know, the demand is extremely high and has been consistently for the last couple of years. So when COVID started and things started to change during COVID, we saw a pretty big spike in demand. I think for us at the time was around a 650% increase.
Wow.
And then that kind of sustained, and it hasn't really slowed down since. Now our service has grown quite a bit in that time to help meet with that demand. But right now, you know, there's more demand than there is availability to be able to support people. Even with motels locally for families, you know, there's not enough motels for families locally. You know, we have pretty much all the motels that we can get at the moment. For single individual people, not so much. It's because they can fit into smaller rooms, but for families, you obviously need those larger rooms. So that's probably our biggest challenge at the moment, and we're working on strategies around that. One of our strategies is obviously to stay positive and to stay focused on purpose.
That's got to be pretty hard, eh?
It is tough, but staying focused on purpose and what we're actually here to do, so that we don't actually get caught up and lose sight of the actual good work that we're doing. It can be really hard when you've got 15 people waiting at the door to not take the time to reflect on the outcomes of the 15 people that are inside the room at the time.
Definitely. And like you said, and this goes to my next question. It says, because you just finished talking about it, but what does it take to be a volunteer here?
Yeah, so to be a volunteer with Beddown or within community, it's really, we're looking for people, I guess, who are passionate.
Have to be.
And who want to make that difference in someone's life. And obviously skills-based volunteers is really important as well. So right here where we're sitting at the moment, this morning about 9 o'clock, so about an hour and a half ago, Breakfast Club finished. So
in this room?
Right here. So every 3 days a week, so Monday, Wednesdays and Fridays, we run a Breakfast Club out of this space. And what happens is it's for people who are in the Ipswich area, who are sleeping rough, to come in, to have breakfast, to connect, to get support. And we've got clothes and stuff on site, all that sort of stuff as well. So the idea with that is we can bring people in and they get a good start to the day.
Wow. So what days did you say? Sorry?
So Monday, Wednesdays and Fridays.
Monday, Wednesdays and Fridays, the Ipswich community come here in the space that we're actually sitting in. And in community actually supports breakfast, clothes, and some sort of other food of
we do brekkie and then and also support. So people who have been sleeping rough, they can come in and they can get support. For those who may just be new to sleeping rough, so they may have just started sleeping rough, they can come in. We have an outreach team which also goes out most mornings and connects with people who are sleeping rough and tells them about Brekkie Club. So Brekkie Club's a bed down initiative, and the idea with that is that while we can't give everyone a good night's sleep just yet, we can still give people a good start to the day.
So I have a nephew, his name is Henry, and he always tells me, he goes, "Uncle, if you win the morning, you win the day."
Yep, that's right, absolutely. And you see it on the people that are in here, it lifts them up for the day. And whilst it's not ultimate, but it also gives them a space where they can come and sit, because one of the things for people who are sleeping rough is you don't have the space that you would have in a house. Like, if you think about your house, you don't lay in bed all day. You would go out and you would sit in your kitchen, or you'd sit in your lounge room, or you'd sit outside. But you don't have that when you're sleeping rough, because essentially you just have a part of concrete that you've kind of made as a space to sleep, and you don't actually have that other space that you can have recreational space in. So to be able to come here in the morning, just have somewhere to sit and have breakfast, and this is a cafe. It used to be a restaurant. So
this used to be a restaurant.
This was a restaurant. So pre-COVID, this was a restaurant in the community. It had been it had a few different restaurants in it for about 20 years.
20 years.
And what we did is we leased this during COVID because we were starting to do centre-based days. So creating a space for people to be able to come and access support services. And we didn't want our centre-based work to be clinical. We didn't want it to look like you were going into a place where, an office. We wanted it to look like you were going into a cafe, and just so happened the restaurant came up. So just over to our right here, we actually have a full commercial kitchen. We don't use the full commercial kitchen because none of us are too great, but we've got a toaster here and some other things for breakfast. So
as long as you can toast and butter bread, give some Milo and tea, you'll be fine.
So we can make some of that stuff for brekkie. But so when people are coming in here, we used to have a coffee shop on that side of us over there. But we've got a cafe next door to us as well. So it kind of feels like you go next door anyone who's going next door, so the tradies come in from sort of
Yeah,
6:30
yeah,
a.m.
yeah,
next door, come and get coffee,
Right.
breakfast, whatever. For people who are coming in here, it actually feels no different.
Gives them the same feeling as everyone else in the area.
Yep. So you become more part of your
Well,
community.
you do.
Yeah.
You become in community.
In community, absolutely.
Our next question, thank you, Paul, is for anyone that's thinking of helping our community people, what advice would you give them? Please take us through the pros and the cons.
Yeah, right, okay. So that's a big question because there's so many ways that you can help.
Definitely.
I think one of the biggest ways is to be actively, I guess, educating yourself around the issues that are on your street.
Yes.
Because the more you know, the more you can then apply the right lens.
Wow. Wait. So Paul was just saying, the more you know, the more you can apply the right lens.
Yeah, so that's about, I guess, not having our preconceived ideas of what someone's
Okay.
experience is.
Okay.
Because we might just say, okay, all homeless people have the same experience,
Right.
but every single person's experience of homelessness, what's got them there and what gets them out,
Never the same.
is different.
Never the same.
So yeah, so it's an individual journey.
Yes.
So I think having that understanding and saying hello to people, smiling, like that kind of stuff, it goes so far.
Something so simple.
So and that's stuff that costs you nothing and takes no time.
Wow.
So you can make someone's day just by acknowledging them, saying,
Right.
"Hey, how you going?" G'day, something like that. Getting involved. Like if you want to get deeper into it, getting involved. There's plenty of community barbecues and things like that
Yes.
that you can get involved in as a volunteer. You can donate to causes.
Definitely.
That's an option as well. But really, I think it's just about in finding ways to show that compassion.
Finding ways, yeah.
Yeah, and to show that, regardless of the situation people are in, people
Yes.
are people just like us.
Same normal human beings.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Now, this is one of the questions I've been looking forward to, and I'm sure you would love to just go all out on this question. So the question is, what are the goals in 2024
Yeah.
for Bed Down under the umbrella of In Community?
Yeah.
Take us through it.
Okay, so this year.
This year, yep, let's go.
This year, our big project is the Good Night Initiative.
All right.
It's to get off the ground and to do these first 1,000 bed nights of
Right.
accommodation as quickly as we can.
Okay.
To get that out there and to get as many people into temporary accommodation as we can. The idea of the Good Night Initiative, we're working in partnership with other organisations.
Yes.
So Bed Down will be the facilitator of the room. So
Right.
we'll work with organisations who are already working with people who are sleeping
Yes.
rough. So that doesn't limit us to just one geographic location.
Okay.
So we're not only doing this in Ipswich. We
Yep.
could be doing it in Toowoomba. We could be doing it in Cairns. We could be doing it anywhere.
Wow.
And our network is quite broad and wide through our organisation. So we're bringing on organisations who can utilise that accommodation,
Yes.
including our own teams.
Oh, wow.
Our outreach team, for example,
Yeah,
as
yeah,
well.
yeah.
So we'll be utilising that across hopefully many regions.
Right.
But then secondly is like our bigger picture goal is we really want to develop a way of untapping these 30% of hotel rooms which are vacant.
Yes.
And getting as much access to that as possible, because what we know is that right now it's hard to build.
Right.
It takes a long time to build stuff. So if we're
Okay.
starting to bring stuff off, if we're starting to try and get accommodation off the ground, one, it's geographically limited, but
Yeah.
two, it's actually really time consuming to do.
So instead of building something from scratch, you're actually using other services
That already exists.
that are already existing.
Yeah, absolutely. Just finding another way to
Yes.
use it to bring up that occupancy and to hopefully bring as many people as we can off the streets as possible.
Paul, you said that this project is happening. When will it be?
So we're launching that this week.
So you're launching it this week,
So we hopefully by next week we will have people in beds.
and not only in beds, but in a hotel or motel room.
Yep, in a hotel room.
In a hotel room. So, give me a bit of context on. I know that the people that are like our guests, which is the homeless people and all that, qualify for all of this, all these services. But do you have to be only homeless to qualify for these?
Yeah, so it would be for people who would otherwise be sleeping rough.
Okay.
So Beddowns' mission, I guess, since day one,
Right.
has really been driven by everyone deserving a safe place to sleep.
Okay.
So for someone who would not otherwise have that safe place to sleep,
Yes.
that's who we're targeting here.
Right.
Now, we know that those people will have access to or will have contact with community-based organisations.
Yep.
So that they will have called, say, our team, for example.
Yes.
So it's about then connecting, or our outreach team might have met them on the streets or whatever.
Oh,
So it's
okay.
about connecting the people who we've already connected with
Right.
into those rooms, because when I mentioned before that we've got at least 15 referrals a day
Yes.
that are unmet, it's just helped start to relieve some of those referrals.
Wow.
and helps try and get some of those people into accommodation.
That's amazing. So how excited are you?
Mate, very excited. Like, we've got a lot of stuff going on in
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
organisation, but this is one of those ones that I think it's, Beddowns kind of, we've come out of the car park trials. We've been
Yes.
doing a little bit. We've been doing breakfast club, but we haven't been doing much at scale for some time.
Right.
And this is now at a point where we're ready to go.
Ready to? You
We've
just can't
got
wait.
everything there, and
Yeah.
we're just ready to get those beds out so that we
Wow.
can actually provide that support to people.
You said that you guys are doing like all this initiative for including the hotel rooms. How was it actually going through the like asking all these hotel rooms, like if you could actually pitch them the idea, like
Yeah.
how was it? Like
Yeah, so we're in the early stages at the moment, so
Yes.
that's the work we're doing now.
Yeah,
so
yeah, yeah.
there's a two-phased approach to
Okay,
this.
okay.
So in phase one, we're purchasing hotel rooms,
Right,
which is
right.
like what we're doing in our other
Yes,
programs.
yes, yes.
But phase two, we really want to bring hotels on board because
Right.
they have these vacant rooms.
Yes.
And we want to help hotels to be able to turn those vacant rooms into social good,
wow.
so that they can actually do something really good with their rooms.
And then that's good because all these rooms that you said there was about 32% of these rooms not being used.
Yeah, absolutely. Every
You know,
night.
and like why not use them
Yeah.
for a greater good?
Absolutely, and there's so many opportunities with that.
Yeah.
To create that space for people,
Right.
to give people a good night's sleep, and ultimately for people to get a good start to the day the next morning.
Man, that's amazing. That's amazing. I have a question here for you. It says, what legacy does Beddowns, under the umbrella of In Community, want to leave behind as our community leaders?
Yeah, so I guess one of the core pillars of Bed Down is the end of Bed Down. So the
Right.
bed down's no longer needed, and that's what we're really like. Our big goal is to no longer need bed down. But what
Right.
that means is that we need to have no people on the streets.
Hey.
So it's a big goal.
Can you, sorry, I'd love to stop you, but I
Yeah.
need you to say that again for our viewers.
Yeah, so one of the core pillars of Bed Down, always has been, is the end of Bed Down.
Right.
So it's where Bed Down no longer needs to exist because everyone's off the streets.
Wow.
Big goal.
Big
We
goal.
know it's a big goal, but it is possible if we can get the right
If you
things
have
happening.
yeah, of course, if you have a good team, everyone under you sees the same vision.
Yeah.
And then it's because one of my mentors told me, he said, if your goals don't scare you, it's not
big enough.
it's not big enough.
No, that's right.
So that's a pretty big goal to get
Yeah.
not only everyone off the streets, but also giving them that morning, like, if you win the morning, you win the day. And like to have all those beds like being taken from all of our guests,
Yeah.
that's actually a pretty big goal. But if you see the vision
Yeah.
and you have a great team behind you
Yeah.
that is helping you, why not?
And in the meantime, even if we only get 20% there, we're still going to make a massive impact with
Right.
that 20%.
Of course.
It's there's so much need right now.
Yes.
But there's also so much opportunity, and it's about capturing and bringing those two together.
Definitely. Paul, is there anything I didn't ask you? Is there anything that I didn't ask that you think is important?
Look, I think that's about it. I think
Right.
homelessness is a really complex issue.
Yes.
It's growing. It's a massive challenge for Australia as a whole society now. I think there's no single way in and there's no single way out.
Yeah.
As an organisation, we have a suite of services. So we work with people who are rough sleeping all the way through support, and we do education for tenants and tenancy sustainment work as well. So there's so many different approaches that we need to do. And I think that the more we can work towards supporting people in positive ways, the better the outcomes are.
Paul, that concludes our day, our meeting here. But before we do go, I just want to say thank you so much, not only to you but also to your team, your volunteers. Thank you so much for being that community hero down here in Ipswich, and also a massive shout out to you and your team for giving me this space where you guys have your own breakfast and you share food and you supply all the stuff for our guests out there. So you guys are doing a massive and a great job here, and I thank you so much for your time, Paul.
Awesome. Thank you for having us on.
No worries. Is there anything else you would like to share before we conclude?
No, that's it.
Awesome. Thank you, Paul.
Awesome. Thank
You
you.
so much for your time.
Cheers, mate.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Well, this is Paul from he's the CEO for In Community, who run Beddowns. As you can see, we just finished our interview here. Before we go, I just want to say thank you to all our supporters out there. Please, like I always ask in all of my episodes, if you guys can share this story, because we never know who in our community the story needs to be heard from. So, guys, thank you so much for your time. Much love to you all, and thank you so much, Paul, for your time. Thank you so much for the space, and peace out, everybody. And remember to always stay sicky. Let's go.